Dresden Files, book number 11 by Jim Butcher. That is going to be Turncoat. I just finished it. Actually, I stayed up until 1 o'clock in the morning to finish it because the ending was that good. Oh my gosh, so much happened in the ending. The ending of this book was absolutely phenomenal. It was equal parts exciting and heartbreaking, okay? I cannot wait to begin my journey on Changes because, wow, what an ending. This was another 5-star book. Shocking. I have given every Dresden Files book that I've read so far 5 stars because they were all so enjoyable. I enjoyed each and every one of them, maybe for different reasons, but this one did not disappoint. I love the premise behind this one, and before we get into it, just please be advised that this video contains spoilers. I call these review videos, but really it's just me desperately wanting to talk to other fans about the events that unfold in Dresden Files because there is a lot to talk about. In every single book, Jim Butcher just jam-packs so much information into all these books, and I'm exploding, wanting to talk about it with you guys, with the fans. So if you're watching this video, please make sure that you are either A, okay with spoilers, or B, have read and hopefully love this book already, and we can talk about it freely without worrying about spoiling anything, okay? If you are eagerly awaiting 12 months, which is Dresden Files book number 18, coming out this coming January 2026, then you may find yourself in need of some summary videos. If that is the case, please check out my channel. I have summary videos of all the books that I have read so far. I'm a little behind. I've already recorded. I just need to edit some of them and upload them, but I will have summary videos of each and every one of these books because you are running out of time to reread these books, okay? January is coming and it is coming fast. So I hope that you're eager. I hope that you're excited, and I hope that you are ready. So if you find yourself in need of summary videos, I have this on my channel. And if you're a Harry Dresden fan, please consider subscribing to my channel because Harry Dresden is pretty much all I've talked about this later part of the year and all I will probably be talking about all the way through January. And then who knows what's next? I don't know. Maybe some more Jim Butcher, maybe some Codex Alera. We'll see what the future holds. But anyways, let's talk about Turncoat, and let's talk about it with spoilers. The whole premise behind this one was just kind of funny to me. We have Morgan. What's his first name? You know what? It doesn't matter. I don't really care. Anyways, Morgan. Morgan is his last name. Morgan shows up on Harry's doorstep asking for help. He's been framed for the murder of one of the senior council members, and he says he didn't do it. He's innocent, and he needs Harry's help, which is just so funny because Harry is the one person who should not help Morgan whatsoever. Morgan has had it out for Harry since book 1, probably since before that, since probably he was 16 years old and had that whole ordeal with Justin Demorne, and yeah, so Morgan has had it out for Harry, and it's just so completely unwarranted. It's so completely unfair. Morgan, while he may be a stand-up guy, he's too stubborn. I don't know. What is that term that I'm looking for? Anyways, I've had such a strained relationship with Morgan. My feelings towards him did evolve as the book went on, and you know, I'm sorry to say, when he died in the end, I was feeling so conflicted about it because I historically have not liked Morgan. I was okay with his death, but in a way I was saddened because in my eyes he kind of redeemed himself for me, and I will tell you why. When the book starts, Morgan has done nothing to deserve Harry's help. He's done nothing to deserve his sympathy or any action on Harry's part to help this man. This man has not been kind to Harry. And me as a reader, I have a lot of animosity towards Morgan. I do not like him. I've kind of been hoping and wishing for his death since book 1. And now that I finally have it, I'm like, oh, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know, because he did redeem himself with me because you know what he did for Molly? Well, Morgan catches Molly trying to break into Anastasia Lucio's mind. And that is violating a law of magic. And Molly's already on thin ice. This particular violation could send her to her execution. Freaking Molly. But the thing is, I forgive Molly. It was necessary because she was freaking right. Lucio was under the influence of freaking Peabody. We will get there in a minute, but holy crap, it was so necessary, but it was not right of Molly, and Morgan catches her doing it, but Morgan also doesn't report it. So even though he is a very staunch, this is right, this is wrong, there's no gray area in between, he is somewhat evolving because the old Morgan doesn't matter what Molly's intentions were. Does not matter. She violated a law of magic. That equals death. Plain and simple. It is what it is. But at the end, one of the last things that Morgan says to Harry is, I didn't tell anyone. I'm like, thank God, dude, because if you did, then I would probably celebrate your death a little harder. But now I'm feeling a little bummed, but overall, I'm okay. He was a huge asset to the White Council. I get it. He killed a lot of demonic things, and he was an asset to the Wizards. I get it, but he was a pain in the butt. Seriously, he was such a pain for Harry Dresden. And let's be honest, at the end of the day, I care about Harry Dresden, this guy who is just after him for sometimes no good reason. And even there was a time and place where Morgan tried to set up Harry and tried to get away. Like, Morgan also walks a fine line between what's right and wrong, because what he did to Harry previously was not right. But in his mind, he thought he was bringing justice just a little bit late. That probably made no sense without any context. But if you've read this series, maybe you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, so I'm so excited about this series. And you know what? I have changes coming up next, and I'm super, super excited. I have actually already read the first chapter. And we'll talk about changes in another video, probably the next video that I publish. But that was a shocking revelation. Yeah. Okay, let's not get sidetracked here. Let's just stick with the events of Turncoat for now. I've blabbed about Morgan a lot, and I don't need to. He dies. Finally, it took 11 books for that character to get killed off, and I'm fine with it. I'm really not going to mourn over him, but you know what? He did redeem himself somewhat, so there's that. Oh, also, okay, the other redeeming... I'm sorry, there were 2 reasons that he redeemed himself in my eyes. First of all is he didn't report Molly for the violation, and then second of all, he was protecting Anastasia. Anastasia was the one... Okay, keep in mind, she has a new body, right? So even though Anastasia is, I don't know, centuries old, she should be more immune to psychic attacks, to where people can kind of like influence your thoughts and like dig into your mind and manipulate your thoughts and opinions and things. And so anyways, she was being manipulated by Peabody, which in her old body, that would not have been possible. But now she has the body of, oh, what's her name? She was an assistant to the doctor who got killed off in book 6, 7? I can't remember. Anyways, she has the body of a younger female, and so she was therefore more susceptible to these psychic attacks. She's the one who freaking killed La Frontier. La Front or something. La Front, I think it's La Frontier. Anyways, he wasn't a nice dude. I actually didn't even really remember his character. He is more on par with the Merlin. Don't really care for the guy. They see things very different than Harry, and they just, Anastasia Lucio, Harry's new fling. She was behind it all. Well, not intentionally. She was compelled to kill off La Frontier, and Morgan was protecting her. Morgan has always had a thing for Anastasia. He's like been in love with this chick, and she never really reciprocated those feelings. Yeah, she adored him as a friend. To my understanding, the whole situation between Morgan and Anastasia is kind of nebulous to me, just because it wasn't really talked about in a lot of detail. Harry asks Anastasia about it at some point earlier in the book, and he's like, oh, you and Morgan, huh? And she's like, yeah, but like I never let it happen. It wouldn't have been fair to him. So to my knowledge, nothing ever happened, but Morgan still harbored all those romantic feelings for her, and she was just kind of like, yeah, I love and respect you as a friend. That's it. Anyways, blah, 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 those 2 things in my mind, I was like, Morgan, you're okay. And the thing is, Harry comes to understand Morgan better than I do. He understands why Morgan is the way that he is, because he's lived for centuries, and he's been impacted by all these situations that he has had to overcome. He's had to battle the worst of the worst supernatural beings. He's had to deal with death and destruction and the killing of innocents, that at some point you kind of become immune to it. It's like being in law enforcement for such a long period of time. You kind of become immune, and you're just like, okay, well, we got to do what's necessary. That doesn't mean it's right, but it is necessary. 2 separate things, right? Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about Harry. Harry, oh my gosh, just as lovable as always. I feel like he wasn't as dark as the previous books, and you know why maybe that is? Lashiel is still gone, or I should call her Lash, right? Because Lashiel is the actual fallen angel that lives in the Roman coin. Lash, who he calls Lash, was the copy that was living in his brain, but she kind of protected Harry from a psychic attack, and it kind of blew herself up in that unoccupied space in her brain, like the 90% that we never use. Anyways, she's still gone. I kind of expected her to be back in this book, but maybe Harry has taken a step back from the dark side because he doesn't have her influence. I don't know, guys. I'm just guessing because I don't know what happens in the rest of these books. I'm making all these assumptions. I'm making all these predictions, and I'm always wrong, but Lash is still gone. That surprised me a little bit. I was expecting her return, and I'm still expecting her return. I just don't know when. Harry is funny, though. I felt bad for him in one moment. So in the very beginning of the book, there is that attack of what Harry calls Shag Nasty. That's the Shadow Walker. No, sorry, Skinwalker. The Skinwalker. And it attacks the alphas, and Andy gets severely, severely injured, and Kirby actually dies. And we've known these characters since Full Moon, book 2. And Harry, it kind of slipped his mind. He's had a lot going on, okay? I really don't fault Harry Dresden for it. I just felt bad for him when he goes to call on Georgia and Billy for help, and they're still at the hospital with Andy trying to see if she's going to survive or not. And he's like, oh my God, I didn't even call to find out if she's okay. And he just felt like a garbage person. I'm like, dude, you've had a lot on your mind. You're battling Shag Nasty. You've got some other stuff going on. Like, it's okay. Don't worry about it, okay? Oh, a shift in this book that was so fascinating to me, and I saw it coming before it actually came to fruition. Harry is no longer untouchable by the White Court. Remember, he was protected because the last person he was with was Susan, who he was in love with. And then for like years, at least 4 years, it might have been more, he wasn't with another woman. So the White Court could not touch him. If they kissed him, their lips would blister and it would hurt them. Well, guess what? Harry's been with Anastasia Lucio. So, yeah. The White Court can touch him now. And Madeline in particular of the White Court does exactly that. Speaking of Madeline, might as well hop to her character, right? She is a cousin to Thomas and Laura. Yeah, what a nasty lady. I love how Thomas humiliates her at Club Zero. Is it Club Zero? I forget. At that, the shady club. Thomas, yeah, he really humiliates her. I knew she was going to be back, but I'm so glad that she dies in the end. I did not want her sticking around, and the way that she dies was actually very cool because Laura did it. She pretty much like pulled her intestines out as she was killing her. Yeah, like a horrible visual, but also the woman deserved it, okay? So that was kind of satisfying in a very gruesome way. But Madeline ends up kissing Harry, and Harry is just like, also it's like at the worst time. They're getting ready to battle this shag nasty thing. The vampires are there, the wardens are there, the spiders are there because the traitor let them in from the Never Never. It is like the worst time, and Harry's being attacked by Madeline because she's like kissing him and his body's responding and reacting to ways that he doesn't want to, and she's feeding off of him, which before, when he had last been with Susan, that was not possible. Now stupid Anastasia has to come into the picture, and now Harry no longer has that immunity. So another reason why I was not pro Anastasia and Harry. I guess let's jump to Anastasia since we're talking about her already. Man, I've never been on board with that romance. I do not want that. You know what? I didn't even really love the whole Harry-Susan thing. I didn't dislike it. I just didn't see that long term. I didn't see it working out. I just thought it was a temporary thing, which it was. And then the Lucio thing, I'm like, that's definitely not going to be a long-lasting relationship. And I agreed with Murphy, even though what Murphy says may have been born of jealousy. She was like, hey, I like Lucio. I think she's fine. She's not for you. Absolutely. They're so wrong for each other. And yeah, in more ways than she even knew, because guess what? Lucio was pushed toward Harry by freaking Peabody. So her feelings and emotions towards Harry weren't even her own. How freaking devastating is that? Also, like, Harry waits how many years to move on from Susan, and he gets Anastasia, who didn't actually really want him. Okay, that was kind of a weird conversation too, because Anastasia, she has always loved and respected Harry, but like not romantically, but she thought he was a formidable wizard. She had a ton of respect for him. That didn't mean she wanted to be romantic with him until freaking Peabody put his stupid little ink-stained fingers into everybody's minds. And you know what? I'm glad that romance has come to an end, because I didn't like it anyways, even before I found out about the influence of Peabody. But yeah, I want Harry to move on. That is not for him. And poor Anastasia, I mean, she's having to readjust to this new body. I mean, this is something that happened books ago, to where she has to adjust to this new body, and it's impacting her in more ways than just one. Originally, she was just like, she was talking about how she can't even make swords anymore because she doesn't have the ability that she used to in her old body. Now she's also dealing with feelings of sexuality and emotions that she hasn't had to deal with in a long time because she was simply just old and not feeling those things. Now she's young and randy, and it's messing her up. Anyway, I just never really felt the love. There was just something missing with Anastasia and Harry, and I knew that was purposeful because I knew it was going to be a fling. I knew it was going to be transitory, and I was eager to move on from that. It was heartbreaking at the end when Anastasia comes to Harry and she's like, this is it. And Harry says that it hurts more than he expected or more than he wanted to admit. And I'm like, well, yeah, like, even if you don't love the chick, of course, like, parting ways with somebody who's become a close friend and partner with adult activity, yeah, that does sting for sure. Oh, and we get to meet a new character who I actually really enjoy. He is a private investigator. His name is Vince Graver. I really, really like the guy. Harry bests him because Vince was actually hired to keep an eye on Harry, to essentially spy on Harry. And Harry picks up on his trail and he confronts Vince in a very respectful way. He puts gum in the keyhole so he has trouble getting into his car. He flattens all of his tires. But then after he kind of builds some kind of weird friendship with Vince, he offers to call Mac, not Mac, sorry, that's McAnally's. Mike. He calls Mike and he's like, I will have your tires fixed. No charge. It's on me. That in itself is going to build a pretty strong foundation. I knew Vince was going to come back. I didn't know it was going to be as early as this book, but he came back pretty early, and that was awesome because Harry hires him after that whole ordeal. Even though Vince was the one who was hired to track and keep track of Harry, Vince abandons the job when Harry's like, there have been attempts on my life, dude. Like, this tracking of yours almost got me killed. And he's like, oh, darn. I guess I'm going to quit the contract. I guess I'm going to lose all the money because you know what? He has a sense of right and wrong. He has a heart. And you know what? A better business partner for Vince is going to be Harry, not freaking people from the White Court. I say people, actually, vampires from the White Court. Anyways, I like the guy. I think he's going to come back in other books. I hope. I really like him. Also, he was supposed to have a date with Molly. I just remembered that. Molly goes and flirts with the guy and gets additional information as to who hired him. And Molly comes back and she's all like, oh yeah, I got this information. And also I have a date. The thing is, okay, now I feel conflicted because I've always been really committed to the Carlos and Molly romantic entanglement. Now I'm like, what would it be like if Molly and Vince kind of had a fling? I don't know. The Molly has so many options. I guess that will be fun to explore. I guess we'll find out, right? Ooh, Injun Joe. Injun Joe had a moment in this book, right? I had no idea that he had this crazy ability to shapeshift, and that is exactly how he was able to drive off Shag Nasty. Okay, I prefer using that term versus the actual name because I don't think I can pronounce the actual name of this stupid entity. I mean, they also call him a skinwalker, but I don't know, Shag Nasty just sounds right. That cracks me up that Harry named him that. But yeah, Injun Joe pretty much saves Harry and drives off Shag Nasty. So that was pretty cool. Having Harry describe what he's seeing as this fight is going on, both of them constantly shifting and trying to best each other. Oh, that moment was so cool. Oh, and in that same moment, little Toot, oh my god, I was actually worried that Toot died because he got swatted away by Shag Nasty, flew into some kind of is like a blackberry bush or something like that, and his light wings out and I'm like, oh no, I hope he's not gone. Oh my gosh, he's fine. Injun Joe checked on him and he's like, the thing that hurt him the most was his pride. I was like, yeah, sounds about right. Gotta love Toot. Who got a promotion, by the way. I forget what his title is now, but Harry did promote him in this book and I thought that was wonderful. I'm hopping around. I should have talked about her earlier because I already mentioned her, but Molly, man, I've grown to love the chick. I gotta be honest with you, I did not like her in Proven Guilty. I was like, oh my god, Harry has to deal with this angsty teenager apprentice of his and I just wasn't looking forward to that, but man, has she evolved in my mind as someone much more lovable because she actually contributes more to Harry's missions now. Before, she was kind of a tag along, she was in the way, she wasn't listening to orders. Now she's got a brain on her, she's thinking for herself, she's making decisions, not always the right ones, mind you, but she's making decisions that are actually positive. Okay, and also when Shag Nasty gets Thomas torn from his clutches, Thomas goes tumbling into the cottage right next to the lighthouse, and Thomas is not himself because Shag Nasty did some evil things to him to remind him who he is, a White Court vampire. And Thomas is out of control. He wants to feed on Molly, and Molly wants that because that is the natural, normal human reaction to being around a White Court vampire. But she still has the presence of mind to throw up that crystal ball shield that Harry spent weeks creating, and it protects both her and Morgan. And I thought, wow, do you know how much self-control that must have taken to not give in to those carnal desires that are supposed to be absolutely normal in the presence of a White Court vampire? Anyways, she's got a brain on her. I really like it. And also, when she broke into Lucio's mind, I actually wasn't mad at her because she tells Harry, she's like, Harry, I know it was wrong, but someone's messing with her mind. She's like, I would bet my life on it. And Harry's like, well, you kind of did. You just bet your life on that fact and mine, because if you go down, I'm going down with you, girl. I did not fault Molly for that. Not even a little bit, because it was necessary. And she told Harry the truth. Somebody is messing with her mind. And Harry's like, you don't need to know that. Okay, well, Harry, I kind of agree with Molly in this regard. Did she violate a law of magic? Yes. Was it necessary? Also, yes. So who was the traitor? That was Peabody. He's a character that kind of flew under my radar. I had all of these predictions as to who the White Council traitor was, and I did not realize it was Peabody. Even though I've never liked the guy, he was kind of mouthy with Harry, but it absolutely all made sense. So yeah, he's dead. It's okay. Freaking Morgan took him down right before he died. He shot him, and he got the guy. Morgan still took the fall and the blame for everything, because that would look better in the eyes of other entities, I suppose, as to not make the White Council look weak. Anyways, again, the political intrigue, I really liked it. I don't typically like political intrigue, especially with like normal fiction books, but when it comes to fantasy politics, I'm a little bit more inclined to enjoy those kinds of conversations. In this book, I really enjoyed it because there was a lot going on politically. Guilty or innocent, Morgan had to take the fall. He just had to, in order to not upset the balance of, respect for the White Council. You guys know what I'm saying. Either way, so many people acknowledge that even if Morgan is innocent, the dude's got to die, because someone's got to take the fall for this, and we cannot look weak for letting him off, even if he's innocent. Horrible. Oh, Thomas. I've been avoiding talking about him so far because he's one of my favorite characters. I love him. And Shag Nasty does some evil things to him and reminds him of his true nature, which I don't know if that's necessarily true. The demon that's attached to Thomas is now stronger, more in control, and Thomas wants to leave his old life behind. Everything he worked so hard to build towards. He's leaving behind his salon, which we know how much pride and joy that brought him, and he's abandoned it all. And he's kind of being welcomed and accepted back into the family. Laura says that she's proud of him. Anyways, he's abandoned who I've come to know and love, and I want that version of Thomas back, and I hope that I get it in Changes. Where is Changes? I hope so very much that I get the Thomas that I know and love back in this book, but I don't know. He seems pretty far gone, and Harry says, I will respect your wishes to keep my distance, but not forever. You're my brother, dude. Thomas is different by the end of this book. And it hurts so bad because I love Thomas. It's like all the humor is gone, all the integrity is gone, all the things that made me love him as Harry's brother. He's just different now. So I hope we get Thomas back in the very near future. Andy survives. She's one of the alphas. She was really badly injured by Shag Nasty in the very beginning of the book. She turns out okay. The ending of this book was very sweet in that she is present during game night at Will and Georgia's. Speaking of Will and Georgia, why did I call him Will? Because Harry promoted Billy into Will. Okay, this was kind of a funny evolution because up until this book, all the first previous 10 books, Billy was Billy the werewolf. Now he is Will because he's kind of graduated because he puts his foot down in front of Harry and says, "Look, Harry, man, I have been willing to follow you into the fire without knowing anything. I have allowed you to give me no information, but I trust you and I will run into the flames with you, man. But Kirby is dead. Andy is gravely injured. I run the pack of alphas. If I am missing information, how can I possibly keep them safe? I cannot stand with you unless I have all the information that I need to keep my pack safe." And I'm like, good for you, Billy. And that's when Harry acknowledges, Billy the kid werewolf is gone. Now I'm dealing with Will, the leader of the pack of alphas. Anyways, it's just so funny because once he makes that distinction, Billy is no longer referred to as Billy. He is now Will. And that was an adjustment for me. Billy is no longer willing to go into situations blind. He requires more from Harry. And Harry is still even reluctant to give it to him because he still sees him as his kid friend. Billy's not a kid. Sorry, Will. Will is not a kid anymore. You got to treat him like an adult who can make decisions, and they should be informed decisions. Those are all the characters that I wanted to talk about, but let's talk about funny scenes because there were so many. How many times does Harry walk into his apartment and just see the craziest, most bizarre thing having to do with Lucio and Molly and Mouse and Morgan? Oh my God, he walks in so many times, like in the middle of a battle, and he's like, for God's sake, what now? That part was so funny. And Mouse is like the only adult, the only one mature enough to deal with these situations, and Harry's like, by God, people, do you ever just sit down and talk about things before you just start throwing weapons at each other? Anyways, I just thought it was so funny because it was at least twice, but possibly 3 times Harry comes home and things are just an absolute disaster. People are like at each other's throats, and he's just like, all right, what happened now? Another part that kind of made me chuckle, I don't know, I thought it was funny. Laura and Harry establish a temporary alliance when the Skinwalker comes to her estate to attack. Harry says to Laura, look, I know we're enemies, but we have a greater mutual enemy who is banging down your door right now. Let's create an alliance. And the reason it made me laugh is this is not the first time this has happened. This happened, oh my gosh, back in book 6, was it Blood Rights? Where they have to team up. They're like at each other's throats, but then the Black Court vampires show up, some of Mavra's people, and they're like, okay, we are enemies, Laura and Harry, but the Black Court vampires, they are bigger enemies. Let's deal with them first, so temporary alliance. So they're constantly forced into this temporary alliance type situation. And then there was the thing in the Deeps with, God, what book was that? White Knight, where Harry had to kiss Laura to create that protective ball of energy around them. And anyways, they've been forced to work together even though they are technically enemies. And I just find that so humorous and so fun. Harry, again, is so beat up in this book. Harry, my dude, I feel so bad for you. Oh my gosh, because he really is. He is beat up. He's wearing this huge head bandage that Rashid, the gatekeeper, laughs at him for because he got pretty much raked across the face with the talons of the Skinwalker. Harry's not in good shape. I actually thought he was going to lose his eye, but he didn't. He's okay. But anyways, as far as that is concerned, that's kind of like his silly attire that we tend to notice in all of these books is this giant head bandage and him still trying to do badass things while looking like he's like dead. I have a couple questions from this book. In the very beginning, we are made aware that Harry is suffering from migraines. What's that all about? We don't really get any more information on that. Is that because of Lashiel in some way, her absence? Or is there something that the copy of Lashiel is doing in his head that's causing these migraines? Anyways, I'm so curious to know. I don't know what the migraines are all about, but only that they are miserable, and I feel so bad for anybody who has to deal with migraines because they are no fun. There is a moment between Harry and Murphy where Murphy kisses Harry and Harry kisses her back, but it's very weird. It's completely passionless. It's more so born of friendship and fear for each other. And Murphy's like, Harry, I need you to survive this. I need you to live. My world would look a lot more grim without you in it. And it was funny because they're doing this in Harry's rented vehicle from Laura. And as this was happening, I was like, I wonder how Lucia would feel about this, because technically Harry is with her. And even though his kiss with Murphy wasn't technically romantic, that is still a very physical thing to do with a woman who is not your girlfriend. I've never had a friendship with a guy who I would just kiss casually like that. Oh man, I don't know. Anyways, it was funny because in that moment I was like, ooh, how would Anastasia feel about that? Well, it turns out she wouldn't care because she doesn't even really care about Harry anyways. That was all Peabody's influence. So anyways, that question is moot, but it kind of made me laugh because I was like, ooh, she probably wouldn't like that. And then later on I was like, oh, actually she won't care. It doesn't matter. Lucia broke up with Harry officially at the very end, and she's so bad at it. She's like, I don't really know how to do this, but yeah, this is over. So Harry's like, it's all good. That's to be expected, but I'm appreciative of the time that we had. So impersonal, but that's exactly how it should have been considering how their relationship was. And it was such a nice ending where Harry shows up with Butters to game night at Will in George's apartment, and Andy's there as well. And it's funny, they weren't going to do game night because they were just going to get together. They weren't going to do games because that was kind of Kirby's thing. He would kind of navigate through the games, but now they have Butters. So Butters has been introduced and is going to become part of this friend group, and I'm very excited for that because I'm a big Waldo Butters fan. I had a few tabs from this book, things that just made me laugh. Yeah, it's mostly things that made me laugh. So if you have this mass market paperback version, I'm looking at page 3. Oh, this is when Harry calls Butters to help patch up Morgan, and Butters is complaining. He's like, dude, I'm not a medical doctor, I'm a mortician. And he's like, I'm a medical examiner, I cut up corpses. And Harry says, if it helps, think of this as preemptive autopsy. Way to think positive, Harry, and way to spin that little situation there. This is at chapter 2, page 8. Oh, I just thought this was funny. He's talking about Morgan. He had brown hair that was unevenly streaked with iron, and a beard that, while always kept trimmed, perpetually seemed to need a few more weeks to fill out. He had hard, steady eyes and all the comforting, reassuring charm of a dental drill. Yeah, real cuddly, right? Very Morgan. That was a great way to describe Morgan. On page 144, Harry's saying, funny, I didn't like the Merlin much more than I would a case of flaming gonorrhea, but I'd never seen him in this context before. Anyways, I don't like the Merlin either, so that's a good comparison. Oh, Harry's talking to the Merlin, and he says, because your balls are in a vice, and I'm the only one who can pull them out, I said. He arched an elegant silver eyebrow. Okay, I said, that came out a little more homoerotic than I intended. Anyways, that part just cracked me up. On page 200, this is when Harry goes to visit the attorney who had apparently hired Vince to go chase after him. And he said, maybe I didn't look like a beaten up bum. Maybe on me it just looked ruggedly determined. And the woman says, I'm sorry, sir, but the Addiction Counseling Center is on 26. Sigh. Just thought that part was funny. On 275, she was reading a paperback, carefully not opening the thing all the way to avoid creasing the spine. Pansy. Harry is talking about Molly reading a book, and he's calling her a pansy for not breaking the spine. I try not to break my spines if it can be helped, so I guess I'm a pansy too. Page 319. Like love, hope is one of those ridiculously disproportional words that by all rights should be a lot longer. I just like that. It should be. I mean, the meaning of a word should be correlated with the length of the word, right? So good. Anyways, I think that is all that I have to say about Turncoat by Jim Butcher, book number 11 of the Dresden Files. Another 5-star book. I absolutely loved it. Changes is coming up for me next, and I'm super excited. It's actually like the worst time for me to be reading Changes because all the fans say that it is going to emotionally destroy me. We are like 3 days away from Thanksgiving, so I would prefer to not spend the holidays bawling in my room by myself when my family is here from out of town, but we'll see what we can do. Also, I'm like 20 weeks pregnant, so my emotions, which are really typically right here, are like now right here. So anyways, timing is really poor, but I simply can't put it off. I can't wait. I have to know what all you fans are talking about. I have to know what happens to Harry Dresden next. So anyways, that's all I have for now. Don't forget to hit subscribe. I hope to catch you in another video. I hope you're reading something great. Let me know in the comments and talk to me in the comments about Dresden Files, anything Dresden Files, except for be careful of spoilers because I just started changes, so I still have a few more books to go. Anyways, I look forward to reading 12 Months with you in January 2026, and until next time, I will catch you on the flip side.